We're going to start off with this whole abortion topic here and the leak and all that kind of stuff. This is from MSNBC, a panel with Amy Hagstrom Miller, who says some interesting things about who the bad guys are.
You just heard Michelle refer to the anti-abortionists as terrorists, and she has a point because the quote-unquote people who call themselves pro-life, they achieved this through violence. When you look through I'm old enough to remember that in the 80s, anti-abortion protesters began bombing clinics, threatening doctors. By 1990, 1,000 abortion doctors had quit. 84% of counties nationwide had no abortion clinic. You are an abortion provider. What does this ruling mean for you?
So Michelle is right, and I'm thankful to be here, Tiffany, this morning with both Michelle and Nancy. There is violence, and it is terrorism, and I think it's very important for us to recognize that it is Christian extremism that is at the root of this shame and this stigma that allows laws like this to pass, that allows justices like this to be confirmed, and this does not represent the majority of feelings and beliefs of people in this country. Everybody knows and loves somebody who's needed an abortion in their lifetime. This is not how any of us want people who need our compassion and our dignified care to be treated at any point in time. There's no way that half of the country should lose access to safe abortion care because of a law like this. It's time for people to speak up, and it's been time for people to speak up, and our clinics and all the independent clinics I know across the country are trying to do as much as we can to stay open as long as possible and welcome as many people for compassionate care as we can.
I love how they call it compassionate care.
Christian extremists.
Christian extremists are the bad guys, Basil.
Have there been reports of
those
abortion clinics exploding and stuff recently?
Yeah, Reuters, Wisconsin, anti-abortion center targeted by arson. Police say, wait a minute.
That's hold on. That's opposite, Gonz.
No, it's let's see real quick here. What does it say? The office of a conservative Wisconsin anti-abortion group was set on fire on Sunday, police said, days after it emerged that the Supreme Court is poised to reverse a landmark decision ensuring abortion rights nationwide. Oh, so wait, hold on. I thought the Christian... Why would Christian terrorists set on fire a conservative Wisconsin anti-abortion group building?
I see what
that
you're doing.
That doesn't make
here,
much
Gonz.
sense, man.
I see what you're doing. It's a very funny joke. Yes. Well, I want to go. Yeah. So obviously, we've been seeing more and more violence in different forms towards the anti-abortion individuals and organizations. But I love this work. It's kind of an interesting throwback to it feels very 90s to me.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the Christian extremists are putting us in danger because of a legal courtroom happening. And yet, the fires are being started in the anti-abortion offices.
Yeah.
And more, in fact.
Well, it's interesting because they show a graphic from that clip we just played. There's a graphic on the screen, anti-abortion violence from 1977 to 2013. And the anchor there was talking about these bombings and explosions and all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of a moot point because if it all happened, especially in the 80s and 90s and stuff, that means where we are now is basically... you guys won, right? All that stuff was the reason why all the abortion stuff happened the way it did. And then so to use that as an argument of it's a threat, I don't know. Yeah.
It's culture war.
Culture war. We've been chanting.
Going.
Half the show has been chanting stuff recently. I guess it's an election year.
Did you start a good chant last episode?
I might have. I think I did. I think I did lean on some chants. So yeah, producers who might remember, I think I did lean on a couple chants at 1 or 2 points.
Chanting. Yeah. If the show slows down, you just start a chant, baby. Yeah. That's what we learned from Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
So of course the ramping up of the narrative by the mainstream that the Christians are violent extremists, and this is going to. It's kind of the same Trump argument, which is. Oh, if the president is Trump, then racists will get to be racists. Well, if the Supreme Court is anti-abortion, then the Christians will get to be anti-abortion, I guess. Extremists. It's just Love it.
No,
Love the
it
culture
doesn't make
war.
any sense.
You got to scare the Democrats into voting.
That's exactly what this is in terms of MSNBC. Their core audience. They're barely hanging on to. But anyway, There you go. There's some other things that happened. The SCOTUS justice's home being targeted by some pro-abortion protesters.
This was a big deal, actually.
Yeah, being compared to January 6th,
Yeah, they had to move. It was Alito, right? They had to ferry him away, whisk him away to a safe house.
Yeah,
because his life was.
We're talking about which was it, Kavanaugh?
I believe it was
or
Alito.
Roberts or Alito. Oh, okay,
I believe Alito was the one who needed to get taken away and brought to a safe location because not because of the Christian anti-abortion extremists, but because of the left, who are really just peaceful protesters.
Of course,
this is putting the life of a Supreme Court justice in danger. If you go by the standards of like CNN, I'd say mid 2020. Threatening the life of a Supreme Court justice, going to his home, making threats. It's all a legitimate form of protest, Gonz.
I know, yeah. Well, Jen Psaki had something to say about it on her way out, by the way. This is her final week, isn't it? I think the new lady, the gay, what is it? What is she? Gay, and she's black, yes. Gay, black secretary. White House press secretary, starting Friday the 13th.
Which this change has been moved up. The timeline has been moved up.
It has
a few times. At first, Jen Psaki was going to stay until August.
So they moved it to May 13th, the Friday the 13th. Interesting.
Yes,
lovely.
Right.
So anyway, Jen Psaki tweeted out. Period at POTUS strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest, but that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, and they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. It's like, okay, I mean, that's as mild or at least objective of a take that we've heard from Jen Psaki in a while. So maybe she's settling down.
It's funny. That the definition of terrorism is, causing fear for political reasons.
Right.
And that's exactly what's going on with Justice Alito and the rest of the justices, which is you've got literal terrorism,
domestic terrorism taking place against our officials, our elected officials.
They're not elected, but social.
Oh, no, you're right. That's the
Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
And yet it is the Christian extremists that we have to watch out for. Now, I want to go over to this WAPO article because what is better than reading the Washington Post when trying to get just a full heaping dose, perhaps even a booster or two of, the mainstream narrative being built around any certain issue. And this is from Washington Post. The headline is, the law enforcement may fully unleash its data collection tools on abortion. Ooh, data collection tools, Gonz.
Don't they already do that?
This is what I'm going to love so much reading this article to you, and we can take it step by step. Happy Thursday, they start out. This is, by the way, this is analysis by Cristiano Lima with research by Aaron Schaefer of the Washington Post. Happy Thursday, the article starts out. It's May 5th, so be safe out there while celebrating World Password Day.
Hey, that's offensive to Mexicans.
Cinco de Mayo. Baby. Being World Password Day?
Yeah. Why just ignore the hardworking Mexicans in this country by making it all technocratic World Password Day? Get out of here.
It really is kind of a weird... why would they choose that day? Maybe it's because there's been a long history of people celebrating Cinco de Mayo down at their local, person of color owned restaurant and then forgetting their passwords or perhaps giving their passwords away. Anyways, below, Connecticut has a new data privacy law and Republican senators grilled the DHS secretary over its disinformation board. But first, law enforcement may fully unleash its data collection tools on abortion. A draft opinion showing the Supreme Court may be on the verge of overturning the constitutional right to abortion. First of all, it's just fun detail. Yeah. There is no constitutional right to abortion.
Right.
But if you're in the mainstream narrative, you are being told this. Now, the Roe versus Wade, as I've explained on this show many times before, it's not about abortion. It's about privacy between you and your doctor. And it was used, the upholding of the right of privacy between you and your doctor is used and applied to the procedure called abortion. Yeah. So when they say overturning the constitutional right to abortion, they're not necessarily telling an untruth. No, rather, they're not telling a lie, but it is not necessarily the whole truth.
Yeah.
So there's no constitutional right to abortion, but there is constitutional right to privacy between you and your doctor, and that's what Roe versus Wade is.
Which, by the way, and I did ask the question on Twitter, if they do reverse it, how does that change any kind of vaccine mandate?
Vaccine mandates, and that's the secret storyline going on underneath this Roe versus Wade story, and that's why there's such
the great misdirection of the conservatives.
Such a talented misdirection going on by the mainstream media here. So overturning the constitutional right to abortion could soon turn a routine activity. Abortion, apparently, according to the Washington Post, is a routine activity for women across the country into a potent legal tool for law enforcement agencies going online. If finalized, the leaked draft opinion published by Politico on Monday is expected to trigger a wave of expanded abortion restrictions across the country, which in turn could embolden authorities to step up legal demands for the personal data of women. One likely target is the information collected by internet service providers, which privacy and civil liberties advocates say has been used in the past by agencies to identify individuals, verify their location, and connect them to relevant groups.
Connect them to relevant groups. Interesting.
What does that remind you of? Perhaps what the Democrats have been rallying for in regards to January 6th? Are they referring?
Every narrative that they've peddled out there. To being able to track down, verify the location, and connect January 6th participants to, white supremacist groups. Well, the tides have turned. For women who may still seek abortions amid an expected wave of crackdowns later this year, it could mean that connecting to a wireless network at a health clinic or browsing related sites from your cell phone or desktop may create an opening for agencies to seize their data and mount a case. Quote, there is a long history of ISPs working relatively closely with law enforcement, said Justin Brookman, Director of Privacy and Technology Policy at Consumer Reports. Okay, so real quick, they're painting an interesting picture here. They're saying if abortion gets outlawed in your state, if you visit an abortion clinic in your state and connect to the wireless network, or perhaps your GPS data shows your visit to the abortion clinic, then you may be in trouble. Well, if the abortion laws get clamped down in your state, why would an abortion clinic even be open and allowing you into their building? That technically would be a problem if your state is not allowing abortions and you are visiting an abortion clinic. But we must provide health care.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, in this script, this situation that they are creating, this is now an illegal abortion center. And if you go to an illegal baby killing factory,
that is interesting. They just said, connecting to a wireless network at a health clinic. They don't say that
Right.
that health clinic, if you're there for an abortion or, like inquiring about an abortion in an illegal, a place where abortion becomes illegal, then yeah, you're basically
in this picture that they are painting. They forget to mention that the abortion clinic that the woman is visiting would be an illegally operating health clinic.
It's only illegal in the eyes of the white supremacists, Basil.
So
come on.
I'm not trying to make a point there. I'm just trying to paint a clear picture. Yep. Haley Tsukayama, a senior legislative activist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, said law enforcement agencies are no strangers to these practices, but they may find additional ways to deploy them as states impose greater restrictions on abortions. Quote, it is probably less about them gaining more access to some of these private companies or to be able to compel companies to turn over information, said Tsukayama, a former technology reporter for the Washington Post. Since they already can access users' data more broadly, they may use those tactics to obtain abortion data, she added. Abortion data.
Yeah, what?
It's not location data.
No.
It's not text messages between you and someone talking about where to get an abortion. It's not you posting a celebratory GIF on your Twitter after your abortion. No, it's obtain the abortion data.
Yeah,
the new rules will put a microscope on decisions by telecom giants such as Comcast and Verizon that may find themselves in a political minefield if pressed to fork over data from their customers to build an anti-abortion case. Quote, it is very likely that we see more pressure on companies to turn over that data, Tsukayama said. Okay, so we've gone through about 4 paragraphs that are just repeating the same thing. Mm-hmm. Your data may be used in the same exact way that it's been being used for a while.
Right.
Cynthia, let me skip down a couple little notches here. Cynthia Conti-Cook, a technology fellow at the Ford Foundation, said law enforcement agencies in the past have often used warrants for geofencing data, which can be used to link individuals to a specific location, to connect people to cases. They have even been used commercially, she noted, including by advertisers targeting people at Planned Parenthood. Another way in which law enforcement can use data from internet service providers to build their cases, Conti-Cook says, is to collect information that can link an individual to a specific computer or IP address. Quote, it is very clear how probable and how accessible a lot of these tools are, she said. There are broad sources law enforcement agencies tap into to get data from suspects, including phone carriers, social media platforms, search engines, and third-party data brokers. Privacy advocates say they are all likely to see more demands if Roe v. Wade is indeed overturned. But Conti-Cook said connecting to the internet through a personal device can pose unique risks because it can tie a web of people to an activity. That could create heightened legal risks in states that seek to criminalize not only those who get abortions, but also those who provide them or facilitate the process.
This is the Texas thing.
The Texas thing. And which is interesting because, again, if abortions are illegal, they're going to go after the providers first. If drugs are illegal, what are they mainly focusing on? Finding the drug dealers. Sure, if you get caught with drugs, then they're going to, do whatever. Depends where you are. They'll get you for it. But their main focus when it comes to investigating and seeking out and getting warrants and taking action is for providers of drugs. If you, got some weed in your house or something and are not, some sort of dealer, they're not going to be busting down your door to come get you. But they are flipping this reality on its head within the Washington Post, not because the Washington Post wants you to, fear that your provider may be taken down, but because they want it to make it about you, the Washington Post reader. This is not a risk to doctors. This is a risk to you. Mm-hmm. When in all reality, if abortion becomes illegal in your state, there will be no abortion clinic for you to visit. This is a complete piece of theater that they are creating in order to, well, scare Democrats into voting in the midterm elections. Now, and that's pretty much the end of it. I mean, they talk about Connecticut's new privacy law or whatever. But that was the entire article. And it was many paragraphs, repeating the same thing over and over and over and over, which is law enforcement has access to your data, and then flipping the script. Not that your abortion provider will be closed if it becomes illegal.
Right.
It's that
just keep going, but the government, they're going to spy on you. It's like, well, yeah, if it's illegal, the government's probably going to crack down on it. Duh.
So, and this is being reported over and over and over. And, I was talking to some people over the weekend who are, normal people. They're normies. And they were trying to tell me, well, they were excited to tell me, do I know about how dangerous privacy laws are or how fluid they are and how the government can use them? And I say, why, yes. Yes, I do. Thank you. Why are you telling me this? And they say, well, many women nowadays, they use menstruation applications to track your menstruation and things like this, track the cycle. And many of these apps have been caught selling this data, this very, very intimate private data for lots of reasons. And I guess a list of these apps came out talking, these apps are willing to work with law enforcement based on their menstruation data. And I guess the fear is that through that menstrual cycle data, they'll be able to tell if you have an abortion or not. And the very idea that individual police units or whatever are going to be trying to track down individuals based on their menstruation data is complete lunacy.
It's just building paranoia.
It's building paranoia. As a professional paranoia addict myself, it really has given me an interesting look into sort of my own data tracking fears. And I am not mad that now, normal people, usually on the left, are becoming just as fearful about this. I think there is a world in which we can find some common ground and try to dismantle
it's a good olive branch.
Yeah,
it's a good olive branch to that kind of thinking. The anti-technocratic, not in the political sense, but just a more principle approach to this kind of stuff. Philosophical. Yeah, there you go.